Okay, so I'd like to call the meeting to order. Open the meeting at 6:31. And our roll call that we take at every one of these public meetings is the committee. So there's three of us on the committee. That's Ryan Shepard, myself, Paul Lepenis, and Eric von Blyken, who's in San Francisco this week, so he's not able to be with us. But that constitutes a quorum. It's a three-person committee, and so we can open the meeting with the two of us here and actually conduct business. And our guest today is Bill Solomon. It's our special counsel attorney for renegotiating the contract with Spectrum, with Charter Spectrum. And on the table, there was a notebook on one of the tables that actually is the prior contract of Charter that we have with Charter Cable. And it's like 40 pages or so. And the part that relates to us specifically in the Cable Advisory Committee is that section 13, which is just a page and a half, that has to do with franchise fees and capital equipment management and some of the obligations we have as a studio. The rest is all easements and the like with that the town agrees to with Charter and Charter agrees to with the town. So with that just being a little bit of the background, this little flyer at the tables is probably something that you've either read about or been introduced to at some point in the last few weeks as an invitation to this meeting. And so we're here to hear around town residents, government and service groups, churches and charities, hobbyists, business people, sportsmen, anybody in and around the town that has that we consider stakeholders in the TV studio. So, without, you want to add anything?
Just very briefly, thank you, Paul. Again, Bill Solomon, special counsel. I work across the state, but I live in New Salem. So yesterday I was in Hanson, which is like more difficult to get to than Cape. So coming to West Brookfield always is such a pleasure and so close. Even if some of the great bakeries are closed when I get here. But it's really nice to be here and a pretty beautiful town. So really quickly, I just want to mention, as everyone sees the meetings being videotaped, I guess we should ask, is anyone else videotaping the meeting? If you are, if you could put your hand up and let us know. All right, so that meets the requirement of the open meeting law. So briefly, let me just speak about community television and PEG access and my working across the state and what I see. There are towns across the state that I can mention. City North Adams, which is sort of in the middle of nowhere, and if it wasn't for North Adams making its own local community and local business, it would disappear. I was thinking like Beat Brigadoon, it would just be gone. And a large part of that is Northern Berkshire Community Television, which is North Adams and Clarksburg and Cheshire. And there was a point in time where if you didn't have the temperature on the PEG access channel, there'd be a riot. But what that does, it connects people to their town and city government and vice versa. It connects individuals to community groups and community groups to individuals and others. And it makes that local community and the local economy, which if it wasn't for that, the city wouldn't be what it is. Seekonk, Massachusetts, same thing. Next to Rhode Island, but it connects to Rhode Island, but it's just out of the way. Not as out of the way as some other towns down there, but quite out of the way. And they've had community television for 40 years, and it's an essential part of their community and their local economy. And then years ago, I've been twice, the Concord license, and it had been, the local station was run by Comcast, which wanted to get out of running local stations. And at the last minute, they changed their position. They would no longer run the PEG access program, and the town would have to do it. And the board members said, "Oh, we'll never be able to do it. We won't get the volunteers." And I remember saying, this is Concord. There's more volunteer associations in art, culture, and history you'll be fantastic. I mean, CCON does it. And then, 9 months later, big headline in the Concord Times, the access score, how great it is, how much it does. And so what I find is when there's a community that has good community television, it's generally a community where people work together, in a good way, in community groups and in government. And when there's towns that don't have that access at community television, it reflects the fact that, and my wife tells me not to say this, she's a town administrator, it's one of those towns sometimes where people get in a circle and shoot, and so that's what I think makes a difference. And then COVID came, and never was community television, and you didn't have that benefit, more important. I mean, how did you connect with, how did government connect with the citizenry? And they worked hard, and they got on Zoom, and then they started remote meetings. And in most towns now, there are certain meetings that are hybrid. You can be in person, but do remotely. It's good to have the people there, but sometimes parents with kids or other folks can't come, and it's not necessarily every meeting. So, it creates this excellent situation. Here, the committee has done great work to get this organization up and running, to get the capital at town meeting. The license has 1.5% of gross revenues to support PEG access operating. Most towns that have good programs have 4%. There's a cap of 5% that a company pays. So that'll be decided in the license. Here today, whatever issues you have related to community television or not, you should mention with respect to cable. The committee doesn't handle internet or telephone. And if you had some issues on that, maybe outside of the hearing part, you could let us know, and we speak to charter and we can let them know. But if you want to speak about community television, speak about what interests you might have, what you think it would mean to you, your family, and neighbors. So we can express that to charter. Final comment. Having been a town council for 30 years, I know that oftentimes in meetings, like one person will come up and say something, and then another person, and then people are rolling their eyes, like, all right, we've heard that. But in a cable hearing, it's good to hear from everyone, even if someone else said it, because then when charter will have the tape of this meeting, and we'd say, well, this is really important to the town, and the charter representative could say, well, only one person mentioned something. And everyone else was being polite. So this is the one day you don't have to be polite, be more concise than I have been, but feel free to express your thoughts, even if they've been expressed by others. And with that said, I'm done.
Okay, great. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
Anything you want to add at the moment?
Not at the moment, no.
Okay. All right, so to facilitate this open discussion, I first wanted to see how many people are representing town departments here. Is there, Kathy? All right, so maybe we do town departments first, then we do the community service and nonprofits, and then residents, just, regular, each of us from whatever background we come from. So do you have any ideas or thoughts about the fact that cable we haven't had a TV studio in 7 years, and you represent the water department?
I do. My name's Kathy Landry. I'm the administrative assistant for the water department. I think that cable access would be fantastic. If I have a water emergency, best way to get it out there. I have to send it by mail anyway, but if we had a boil water notice, that would be ideal. I mean, I hope we never have one, knock on wood, but that's awesome. If we have a water main break and you get 30 people from the left side of the town on Facebook saying, what the heck's going on? Hey, take a look at your television and see what's up. We have water main break. We're doing the best we can. We'll get there. It'll get done. It would be very helpful for my department to be able to post even about our new water project that's taking place.
Right.
People want to know about funding and how we're going about that and why our water project is happening. We could put up blurbs about that. The annual water quality report I just posted online, but I know that not everybody is online. And, most people that aren't online are still connected to cable, and they'll be able to see those things that are important to my department. I know there's other departments that have things they need to get out there as well.
Well, we could interview you too as a community service, you know, like in a studio, we could do the fact finding or explanation of the water quality standards, or
Even-
the Leland Road project, which
Yep.
is
And
coming
even
up.
when we flush hydrants, yeah, I put it in the newspaper and I post flyers around town and I put it on Facebook,
Right.
but not everybody sees that. If I could get it up on public access television, there'll be a lot more people that will know what's going on and when.
And we can repeat that then too. I
Yeah.
mean, it can be it can either be a bulletin board, or it can be a repetitive
Yep.
recording of an interview with you or someone from the water department or any other department in town. Well, thank you. Yeah.
That's what I have.
Yeah. So no one else representing a town department here today. Well, so I do notice Father Miguel here in the back, so I'd like to move to any testimony we have from community service, nonprofits, charity, faith-based. Is there anyone here besides Father that would represent one of those places? Okay, yeah, good. All right, so I'll talk with you in a minute then. Father, would you, you were the first one I saw coming in with a collar on at the door.
Well, thank you for the invitation, for the opportunity of being here. And, a community channel is so essential. The Diocese of Worcester broadcasts daily the TV Mass. And as you probably know, the diocese covered the whole county. We just have one diocese and one county. But we don't have the TV Mass available in all towns. So West Brookfield is one of those. We have Gardner in the same situation. It was in Gardner, and they have a community channel there, but for some reason we were not able to have it set up. But I'm sure that in the future it will happen. But in the meantime, good to know that if a community channel is set up again here, then we can negotiate, or the diocese can negotiate the TV ministry, the communications office to broadcast that Mass daily.
Well, so we have in the faith community, we have masses and services that we can do some broadcasting with. But you also have a large parish center that also hosts a variety of different activities, doesn't it?
Well, yes, we have the Mass in town. We have the Mass, in the church. And we have 4 churches in the Brookfields. 2 are to be closed as of this weekend, unfortunately. Very sad. Brookfield and East Brookfield, but we'll still have West Brookfield and North Brookfield. And we could a new parish with a new name. And the new name will be announced this weekend. But and we have masses in both churches through the week. There will be a new Mass schedule. But this is for seniors and handicapped people that might not be able to come to church and might need spiritual support. Not only Catholic, but other, let's say, denominations. And if community TV can offer that as a public service, that'd be great.
Additionally, I think Father Miguel has things going on at the parish center that may help the community. You have AA meetings and Al-Anon and different things like
Yeah,
that.
that's what I was
if
driving
somebody
at,
knew
yeah.
it was there,
Right.
Oh, yeah.
it might help them in some way.
Oh, thank you for clarifying that. Yes. There's a few things, and maybe more will be added. There's a new pastor that's coming as of July 1st, so maybe incorporating more things.
What a great time to connect with community television and connect with the public. That's fantastic, really, to get that message
Food
out.
pantry. Sorry about that.
Food pantry too.
There you go.
Right, and so that's the Catholic Church, but then we've got 2 other churches in town too that do community outreach and services that certainly would benefit by having some broadcasting ability or recording ability.
No, I'm just gonna, this is your hearing to hear from you, but one thing I always think of and once in a while say is that in Stoneham, where I lived and worked at the town council, and we had a great access program and still do, that one day I turned on the TV and there was a makeover at a local hairdresser. And I had never watched a makeover program. I mean, I would, in a million years, I wouldn't look at, I mean, once on the web, there was an actress who like showed how she does her makeup. And I told my kids, and my kids said, her daughters, oh, there's a million of those. But I never watched it. But here it was on the local station, a local person who I didn't know, but a local person, a real beauty salon. And I watched it. And I thought it was great. And so, you know, I found out about that. It's a great way to get that message out. And again, just connect with people. So all sorts of things you don't imagine in a world where everyone thinks everyone does nothing. The water department or the fire department, they can have informational shows or do a brief video with the help of the access folks when they're burning a house down or you know, for practice if they do that, or have some training. And people love watching that. And when people see the people who work in the town, private or public, and they see what they do, they connect, and they don't no longer think that the town does nothing or organizations do nothing, and you know, they get away sort of from their phone, and they have this great, well, they can watch on the internet too, but there's great commonality of community, and you'd be surprised how people like to watch that. Last point, when I came to Massachusetts, 1978, my two favorite shows were on Channel 38, Ask the Manager. I don't know if you got that out here. Ask the manager, general manager of the TV station. And you can have that in a town where you have the manager have a TV show and bring a different department head. Or the other program I loved was Star of the Day. You know, on Sunday morning when they didn't have all the emotional stuff, but they had kids.
Community auditions.
Community auditions. I forgot his name on Channel 5. He was great. And it was, you know, it was not all this drama and psycho stuff. It was just local people who had talent. And it's so heartwarming when you see the average people instead who aren't in a profession of it or younger, you know, showing their talent. And, you know, there's a lot of talent in West Brookfield, and there's certainly a way to try to encourage people to share that with others, as I see it. Thank you.
Karen, you have something?
Same as Father Miguel. I'm from the First Congregational Church, and we're a congregational church. But we, like he had mentioned, we have elderly folks or folks with medical issues that they can't come to service, and they would love to see it. Now we were doing Facebook for a while, but now Facebook will only hold it for 30 days and then throws it off. And so they, you know, you're really limited now for these folks. Not everybody has Facebook either. So it would be very helpful. And we also have at Food Pantry, we have events going on all year long. So it would be great to be able to get that word out. We do the best we can with newspapers and everything, but to do live and let people actually see the service. Many people have said, can you just, you know, record it for me? It's not always easy to record it and just send it. You know what I mean? But with the Access channel, it would be absolutely fabulous. I do have one question that somebody has asked me. Will it stream as well, or do you have to have cable? Because I know like a couple of the older folks that are at the church, they only do streaming because, you know, through internet, because having both is kind of expensive. Do you know if that's?
Yeah, so ultimately the plan would be to have it broadcast on TV and stream on probably a page on the town website or something like that. That would be just like the West Brookfield Public Access. They'd be able to click on it.
Yeah.
And then maybe there'd be other, depending on our capabilities, it would then maybe be able to be on YouTube or Facebook or other places as well.
I know in Brookfield, when they have a meeting, like a selectmen's meeting or a zoning board meeting, you can be on the Zoom or on the live stream at home and still answer questions or ask questions, and they call on you. You can hear the people speaking, so it's not just they're broadcasting. I know it's all you. And yeah, Jacob will say, somebody has a question online, and they click on them and they put out their question, and they're still able to have it answered without being right there in the room. So that's super helpful.
Well, that's a great segue for the two guests that we have in the audience here. This is Jacob Gorham, right, and Travis Baker. Jacob is the TV studio manager in Brookfield and in Spencer, and Travis is the studio manager for Warren.
My nemesis. No.
And so our sister town, where we need to share those school committee meetings, and we have students at the school that could possibly be volunteers for our studio as they are for Travis's. So do you guys have anything to contribute to the answer that Karen was looking for about streaming it versus live?
Yeah, I mean, when I took over Warren 5 years ago, it was just selectmen's meetings that were being recorded. Over the years, now pretty much every public meeting that happens in town, we record and broadcast. I think water department's the only one we don't do right now. And that's just because they hold them at a really weird time. So,
6 in the morning.
but that was one of the issues. You know, a lot of people nowadays are cutting cable, so we kind of had looked at things, and we run a live stream of our channel that you can click on. You're getting the same exact thing as cable customers, and it's really handy for, you know, especially this summertime. You have town meetings or different meetings, and people aren't home to be able to watch it on TV, but they're able to click on it, you know, and watch it. We put ours out on YouTube and Facebook Live while it's going out on cable, so we try to give as much opportunity to everybody, so, you know, people can't say, well, I didn't know about this, because we're given every opportunity there is to get the information out there for the town.
Great, thanks, Travis. Anything, Jake?
Yeah. Hi, Jacob Gorham, station manager of Spencer Cable Access and Brookfield Community Media. Yeah, so I mean, to kind of to that point, the civic engagement that we got in Brookfield from before and then after is kind of just remarkable. I mean, people didn't really, we've been off the air for years and years before I came on. We made everything, you know, we put everything back together and started filming the meetings, and now I get like constant emails of people wanting this one broadcast and this one broadcast. And so then it, you know, a natural migration was to the streaming platforms. So we're able to put our channel up, to Travis's point. We're able to get it basically 24/7 on our website. We have a broadcast stream on Facebook and on YouTube. So basically any way that people want to be able to access it, they can. Over in Spencer, we play the music channel. So we have a radio station in town, and we're playing some of that during the intermission period. So it's a lot of really cool, very exciting things we can do when we bring together people in the town, and they, you know, suddenly we get this community that kind of flourishes from cable access. So.
Well, and so to both these gentlemen's points, we have not been broadcasting for over 7 years in this town. And so that's similar to Brookfield, that you see the pent-up demand that tends to generate from just having a modest amount of content on the studio channel. So the thing that limits us right now is part of the contract agreement with Spectrum, is that we get such modest franchise fees to operate the studio in a year. And we've accumulated 7 years worth of franchise fees. So we've got a bank account available to us now, but unless we negotiate some better terms with Charter than we have, it's going to be difficult to run a studio on the $20,000. It's less than $20,000 we get a year. So that's where Bill comes in to help us negotiate something more substantial to provide content for the community.
I did want to say one thing on it's cable versus streaming. There's a bill in the state legislature that's having a hearing coming up. It's had a bunch of hearings where Mass Access, the people who run, the organization for the nonprofits that does a great job. This week they were in Boston at the Alliance for Community Media, a national conference. It's a wonderful interactive group for these access directors to really learn a lot and share things. But the tension is that, absent that law passing, that the funding only comes from cable for community television. It doesn't come from the internet. So, Charter will say, well, there's fewer the people cutting the cord, there's fewer people getting cable, and they're subsidizing community access, and the people who watch online are like freeloaders, they'll say, and therefore they want to use that to give you a license terms that are not as favorable. And there's two things. Well, one is that if you have a good community television program, all the things you mentioned here and more, that it does cause people, encourage people not to cut the cord and to get cable. It's at least it's a fair decision to make, where if you don't have that for cable, you're less likely to want to keep it or add it. But if you have that local program, and I know people, as you mentioned before, there are people, seniors and others, who enjoy watching TV. I know that I've tried to watch 2 Olympics in a row online. I can't do it. It's all confusing. There's a million ads. I wish I had the ability to watch it on TV and to make life simpler. And that's true for a lot of things. So one is that it'll make the community stronger to have public PEG access, but it'll also make Charter a better cable company, better able to keep subscribers. But in response to the Charter position that, well, these other folks are freeloaders, under the FCC determination, that a cable company can provide telephone and internet service, if they have a cable company. And the FCC, unfortunately, said under a particular administration that no, that cities and towns can't get money for that, they can't regulate it. So currently, unless a cable company wants to be a telephone company, and there's reasons they don't, that the only reason they can provide internet is because they have a cable franchise. So it's a little challenging to complain that people are watching the internet when most people are watching on the internet that they're buying from Charter. Mm-hmm. So if people cut the cord, the town and the access cord, or the town's access program, gets less money. But if people cut the cord and just stream, that stays with the cable company. So in summary, community television makes cable stronger. It'll make Charter a better competitor and have more people. If there are people who just stream it, well, they're still using Charter, and while we can't count those revenues currently as to apply our percentage, I think it's fair to point out that the reason they can provide that internet service is because they have a cable franchise. So, I always say, let's support cable. Let's hope they do well. We're a partner. But at the same token, we live in the real world. They provide internet, make more money from internet than cable. An access cord, or a town that community television wants to also put that online, but also encourage people, if they can, if it makes sense, to stay with cable.
So right now, there's 800 or so paid TV subscribers in West Brookfield. So it's those 800 TV subscriptions that is the profit that we're getting a percentage of for this franchise, the revenue. So, so what Bill said is, the monopoly that the town agrees to with Spectrum or Charter provides them the permission to do business in town, and it's because they're a TV service first that's why they're here, and then the internet and the phone follows.
Yeah, I just want to say that it's a non-exclusive license. So they're not a monopoly. From their license under Mass law has to be non-exclusive. It doesn't prevent anyone else from coming in. The problem is that there are not any overbuilders who are building cable systems. Verizon stopped doing it. There are towns in Western Mass that created their own fiber to the home. They just do fiber to the home and internet. It's harder to do that when you have a cable company. It's possible, but it's difficult. Where those towns didn't have a cable company, and it made more sense for them to create with federal and state funding a municipal fiber to the home. My wife works in the library. That was the first in the state, and there's others. So not exclusive. We love to have another cable company. It's just that they don't have anyone who wants to come in.
That's right. There's nobody
And it's
who
any
wants to build here.
or anywhere. There's not cable. There was a company in the north, Haverhill and the North Shore that built, but they stopped. So you're not alone on that. But what you can do is make sure that the cable license works for the town.
Well, so with that, any residents have anything else to add, either from your perspective in town or your perspective from coming from another town where they did have cable, a community TV station that you loved seeing, or Donna?
Not about another town, but when you were talking about how it could benefit different parts of the town, I'm a member of the Friends of the Miriam Gilbert Library, and I do know that they do all sorts of wonderful things. They have a brochure that they put out, etc. But if they had some filming happening on some of their events, that could all be shown. Even I know that Ryan does work in Munson and films our daughter, who is the children's librarian there, and it's a monthly update on what the library is doing in Munson. That could be us too. So that's all I have to say.
Good point. Good point.
Yeah. There's a lot of places like that in town that probably some you don't even know about that hold things like that. And if we can start by providing, like informing everybody about them, and then eventually start recording some of them, and like she was saying, having a librarian come down and actually announce what these things are on a monthly schedule so everybody knows what's coming up.
Let's do it.
And I know that where you can dial in and see concerts that have happened in town, especially like school concerts.
Right, what the kids are doing, right?
Yeah.
Both in Warren,
Yeah.
because we don't have a feed from the Warren cable or our own elementary school in town.
Right, things like that. I'm sure there's some churches sometimes that put on concerts and other things that would be beneficial to watch or be able to stream if you're not there. Even like a parade or anything else. I know that requires volunteers to get out there and film it, but still, a lot of things we could film and put online that just aren't done.
Well, we will have a lot of lendable equipment, field equipment, so if we can teach people how to use it, then you can borrow it and create your own content at your convenience, whether it's, your church, your library, or sportsman's
The
club.
parade,
Or,
filming the parade, filming music, like the bandstand, the band concerts down at the town common.
You see the concerts, like every week.
there's one there tonight, right?
Yeah, so like Warren, we do them, they're doing them, they start this Friday, so like I'm usually down there every Friday recording the band and all that, and then, so that doesn't go out live, but usually by Saturday morning.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's playing quite a few times during the week for people that just can't make it, or, I don't know if we're supposed to get the same weather tomorrow. If we're getting the weather tomorrow, I don't think too many people are gonna be sitting out.
It gives folks something to watch on the weekend and
Yeah.
have on in the morning.
We broadcast the high school graduation for people that can't make it.
Yeah.
And then the senior awards night, we do the Memorial Day parade. Try as many town events as we can do. We try to get those out there because not everybody can make it to these things. Cool.
Are these things you like to see in West Brookfield? I mean, maybe
Yeah.
a show of hands if you could have that. Who would like to see these things on the West Brookfield channel?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Any other comments, viewpoints to Steve?
What do you have for staff? On the cameras and go to these meetings?
So it's 6 of us all together, but we're all pretty much volunteers.
Yeah.
Two of them are high school kids. And most of the time, the other people that can help, it's when it's evening meetings and that. So a lot of times it's a one-man show.
When I was living in Holland and my oldest daughter was in high school, she and 3 of her friends were the people who ran the cameras at all
Yeah,
the
so
meetings.
we do, it's like we call it a paid internship with the high school kids.
They did earn
They
some
come
stipend.
help out and, they get paid for each hour they work. Only downsides, unlike a regular job, they get paid once a month, but,
True,
doing that, they're only volunteering a few hours a week. They're on average 15 hours a month or so that, when they're really trying to stay busy. And I always tell them to prioritize school over this, but we've had quite a few kids over the years go through that. Some of them, they use it for their college applications.
Yeah, it's a terrific opportunity for the kids at the school to learn real skills, like real production, media, journalism, there's civic engagement, there's a lot of things that they can take from it.
They got a lot of training on the equipment and setting up, breaking it down, and yes, I'll say my daughter and her friends were all bored with some of the meetings, but
Well, they can create their own content too, so
Well,
there's where the kids can,
yeah, the cable in Holland, which has probably not been running for as long as West Brookfield, they didn't get to the point where people would create content. And of course, in my humble opinion, having worked in Holland on and off in various jobs for the last 25 years, the two most important meetings, I think, are the select board meetings and the finance meetings.
Sure.
And so those things should be aired so that people know what's happening with their money and their bylaws and, that kind of thing.
Can I ask a question? Charter is very reticent about providing a high definition PEG access channel. The other companies just do it. But let me, by show of hands, when PEG access high definition was a dream, I always thought it'd be a public channel, sports and the outdoors. But it turns out that most communities use it for the government channel. So when they have meetings, they can put plans or financial documents on the screen and people can read it. So let me ask you that with show of hands, if you'd be able to more clearly see the documents or plans or presentations, would you find that advantageous if a high definition does that for you?
And I will chime in here and say that is the #1 complaint we get in both towns I'm in. So,
Yeah.
well,
That the picture quality.
yeah, they just can't see it up on the TV.
We just did our contract, it was fight tooth and nail, but they agreed to give us HD and we had to fight for it.
Are you paying for it or is it they just doing it?
They're doing it. We technically have to pay for the equipment upgrades, but I found out from the engineers that the equipment doesn't need to be upgraded. It's just swaps in the computer.
Yeah, yes.
So I'm waiting to see when Charter comes back and says, well, it's going to cost this much, and be
Well,
like,
that's good that you're not paying a monthly fee, which is crazy. Yeah.
I'm still waiting for them to switch over because they had 2 years from when the contract was signed, which was January of last year. So they got about 6 more months before I'm gonna be like, all right, where's our HD?
Right.
But we've seen that, that's still one of our biggest complaints, especially with like planning board. Because they do the meetings on Zoom as well, and they'll do the screen of what the plans are, and the video quality we get right now, you're seeing a bunch of little fuzzy lines, you really can't make anything out.
Yeah.
Even on a big 70-inch screen, that actually makes it worse.
right.
Well, that's good to know. I thought you both were very articulate on the training and what that means for kids and in their lives and in their college life going forward and in their future life. And because we live in a world where for those generations, video is part of everything. Video is what controls the world. And if you learn those skills more than just on your phone, if you learn the skills you mentioned about, some of them are soft skills of planning and organization and framework, and then the technical skills, it's just a great advantage, and it's just a great benefit for those kids who will be using video the rest of their life, and maybe give them some skills that you don't get replaced by a computer, because there's physical skills and there's judgment that has to be made. And so you have an elementary school, but you have a middle school in town, right? Is that remind me?
No, that's just his.
And the high school is in
Middle school and high school are in Warren.
Warren, okay. But the interconnectedness, I just made one thing. I used to always say that there was some writers in the New York Times who would write from London about America, like The View or Paris. The guy right now writes from France about things including America. And I used to read those columns, and you found out more about the United States than people would hear, because it was just such great perspective from getting away from the everyday and the minutia. And so one of the things I think that people in Western Mass don't really appreciate is how interconnected, you know it, but it's stepping back, the interconnectedness of all your communities. When there's a concert, as you mentioned, or a dance, or a library program, and that word gets out, folks want to go to the next town. I live in New Salem. When my children were young, which is not that long ago, we went all over Western Mass, where there's an interesting program, and there's a wanting to do that, and a welcomeness by the people. When I lived and worked in Stoneham, Mass, which is a very friendly town, but people in Stoneham would no more go to a program in Melrose or Woburn or Reading than they would go to Iraq. They would just, the idea that you'd go to a community where they didn't know anyone, and it didn't have that interconnectedness. The Berkshires, they think of themselves as North County and South County, and they think of themselves as all together. They don't divide their sense of who they are. And so that's a great strength you have here. And if we can make that point to charter through what you said today, that's invaluable, that you're opening up not just West Brookfield, you're opening up West Brookfield to all these other towns, and all these other towns to West Brookfield, and yet a greater sense of a larger community that people are part of. And when they feel part of a community, they want to be proactive and not feel like nothing works and everything's negative. So I don't know, maybe a show of hands. How many folks here try to keep up with events in other communities or would like to do so going forward?
Yeah.
All right, great.
Well, so the fact that we have a regional school system is really important for uniting Warren and West Brookfield. But our Chamber of Commerce around here is called the Quabog Hills Chamber of Commerce. And so likewise, it's an umbrella Chamber of Commerce, because no one of our towns has enough business community to really stand on its own. But it's more like the Berkshires around here, but we need these community TV stations to help us drive together, sharing content, whatever Travis is recording or Brookfield is recording, we can share it among ourselves. And whether it's faith services, charity organizations, outdoor activities, we've got all these public lands around that are good for hiking and fishing, and we have the Quabbin that has all kinds of activities that are useful to us if we can market them to each other better.
Right, because you have one town, maybe 3,000 people, but when you add all of these towns together, there are hundreds and hundreds of businesses and organizations and 100,000 people. So it's a really good opportunity to expand.
Great. Well, this is our third meeting that we've had. We've had a department head meeting and with the departments in town. And there we heard the testimony of all the department heads that were there then. It was the fire chief, the police chief, the assessor, the tax collector, the accountant, the town administrator, the board of selectmen. And then we had a meeting back in May, which was similar to this in the same location. And we captured testimony on that. And now this is our third one. So any other comments before we maybe take a motion to adjourn? Anybody, anything else to add? Yes.
I just
Yeah.
have, I mean, it may not have anything to do with that, because I know we're talking about the charter agreement and all that stuff, but my thought is, there are a lot of small businesses in just West Brookfield, Warren, North Brookfield, all around that a lot of us don't know about. I just found out about a coffee shop that's fabulous in North Brookfield. Never knew it was there. It's been there a year and a half. Is that the type of thing? It's called Jars and Jars on Summer Street.
See, let's share that.
So
Right.
cute. My point is, I'm sure we all want to support our local businesses and our local people, but we don't always know they're there. So would there be a way for advertising, or not that we all like, commercials, because we don't, but
You could,
if it's more of an informative type of
you
thing.
could do a program that would spotlight local businesses.
Yeah.
And, ask the community, like business folks, do you want to be part of our program? And then send someone out, this is what they have to offer, this is who the proprietor is, this is what's going on. And that could be something that's broadcast whenever, like,
Right, we
Like
do that,
whether
we do that
you-
dispenser,
yeah.
bring it to the table, we call it. And
Oh,
Yeah.
great.
we bring all sorts
Yeah.
of local.
I love that.
There are
Yeah.
also opportunities like at fairs, like the farmers market, stuff like that, where these businesses come out and they sell their stuff there. There could be coverage of that, where you go to booth and talk to them, and then they can be like, hey, you can find this on Main Street in North Brookfield or wherever they happen to be.
Yeah.
And so like blatant advertisement is not allowed because it's a nonprofit. And but things like that, like getting them, like having a show where they, you spotlight a business and you have a host and they ask questions and stuff like that. Or if they are like up to like doing some sort of educational program, like if they're a coffee shop, if they want to do like, how to make some like coffee drinks or something like that, they could do something like that. Or there's right in town, there's the coffee roaster. If she wanted to show the process of like roasting coffee, like what her process is, then that's something. And then she also gets promotion that way. So there's ways to work with businesses and stuff like that to get them on the channel without it being like an actual 15-30 second advertisement. That's what we're used to on cable TV.
Just call it a documentary.
Yeah.
Well, and so we're a department of the government of West Brookfield. And so if you've seen the website, there's a community issue, there's a community topic on the website. And what it does is it just lists a few of the community businesses, but it's by no means complete. And we can help fill that void with some feature of the Boy Scouts in town and the Sportsman's Club, just different things that are activities in town that emphasize the public side of the PEG. So the PEG money, the PEG access franchise fees go to public service of public information, educational information, and government information. And we hope to really touch all of those to some degree, but government is our first priority.
And so one of the things that's helpful, well, firstly, absolutely, I always say that access programs, every town with an access program should have once a month highlights of business. I mean, there are places like Barnstable that are so good at what they do, it's a mini Chronicle. I mean, you would think you were watching Chronicle, which I still love, yeah. And so, they have numbers. If you change people's purchasing, 2%, where they go from national chains or regional chains to local, that's a tidal wave in the local economy that, as you said, people don't know about. That there's just somehow, I made a film in Stoneham of all the natural places, and I brought it to Acton, which is actually, when you get off the main road, has beautiful conservation land, farmland, and I showed it to someone in the town administrator's office, and it was very moving because film is so powerful. And she said, well, Acton isn't that beautiful. I said, sure it is. It's the power of film. And so many people don't know, more so here because it's not a suburban town where people just move in and leaving. But people don't know, as you indicated, the conservation land, or where can you cross-country ski, or, you know. So those are the things you can get that message out. So that's a wonderful use. I did want to say, I believe it's helpful, you know, to have a government channel and public channel separate. So people don't, on the government channel, they don't believe that when there's public programming that the town is speaking, particularly when the town runs it. So there's the public side on one channel and the government side on another channel. You don't make the government side what they call a public forum, so anyone can say what they want on it. And then if you have the schools involved enough, the regional schools, then, you know, it makes sense to have an educational channel. So let me again do a show of hands. If there was enough interest and potential for programming, would people be interested in seeing those 3 different channels, or at least 2, rather than 1? Can I see a show of hands on that? Do you think it'd be helpful to separate those functions out, or not, if you have an opinion?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Yes, okay.
I understand the difference in having to keep government channel from the rest of it, but if we were to split it up into 28 different channels, it's gonna lose the whole.
Yeah.
No, you're right. And you could, you know, here you may just have 2. You could have government and educational on one and the public on the other. Sometimes it's just concerns, you know, they have some.
So I understand the concern, yeah.
Yeah, like the Boston City Hall case, when you let the Boy Scouts put a flag on the City Hall, you can't tell other nonprofits that they can't put a flag there. So you want to make sure in government that things are in public forums where people have a right to speak. There's government speech, can decide what it wants to say, and that's separate from public speech. So at least 2 channels sort of make sense as I hear the feedback too. Thank you.
Yes, Steve.
In Holland, they have Cox Cable. It's the only town in the Commonwealth that has that. And so when they did have cable, and you have a regional school in Sturbridge, the junior and senior high school, but for some reason you could never tape a regional school committee because for some reason their cable company wouldn't talk to Cox. And so you never had any of those. Is that
So
are you guys all in the same cable company? Or?
Warren, we run Comcast. You guys got Charter here.
Okay.
However, there are ways that we could record it and provide the video. It wouldn't go out live, but
Yeah.
you know, depending on the funding that you guys would have for West Brookfield, there are ways we could set that up. Nowadays, years ago, you had to have a physical line from
Yes, yeah.
the school, but essentially you can stream it back to the studio here using the internet.
Okay, I realize
Yeah, so-
technology's changed.
If the funding's there, you know, because there are equipment costs and service fees that are involved that, you know, you guys in West Brookfield, as long as the budget supports that. And that'd be something, you know, we've talked about a little bit. I've talked about with these guys is we have thousands of dollars worth of equipment pre-installed at the school, and I'm more than willing to kind of do like a shared service, you know, where, you know, West Brookfield has access to our equipment that's already there to be able to get the video over to here.
Since you mentioned that, the current treasurer in Holland, she used to be the treasurer collector in Barrie. And their cable company, whoever the head person is in there, can operate cameras from their home.
Remotely.
They don't have to go to any meetings, apparently all their stuff is all set up in the town hall, I would assume.
I've heard
So you
that too.
just flick a switch and you go.
Yeah, that Bill Wright, I know we don't have that capability. We were trying to get for like a municipal fiber which would give us that capability. We could be in the studio and control cameras at the school. Comcast wouldn't go for it. We priced it out. It was doable, but we kind of looked at the costs of it and what else we could do with that money.
Yeah, so it's something that we consider, especially short term, being able to, especially if we're going to be covering a lot of meetings on a pretty tight budget, not necessarily having to have a person there for the entire meeting could help to make our money go a little bit farther. So we're working with, it's the same company that Travis works with in Warren to, install cameras and equipment in first the select board meeting room at the town hall. And we're going to work with them to come up with a solution that works best for us. And hopefully we'll be able to do some of that remote stuff.
So move to automation and remote as quick as we can with the budget that we have.
Yeah.
It's definitely in the vision.
Yeah.
Anything else? Anything on anybody's mind? Okay. Well, yes, do it.
Can I make a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Certainly, yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Well, so let's see, we've adjourned at 7:27 for the record.